Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. National Assembly summons Ministers of Defence and Finance, as well as the CBN Governor, to explain release of $462 million for purchase of helicopters by the executive without legislative approval. Senators call for the sack of Nigeria's security chiefs over continued killings in parts of Nigeria as tension rises in Nasarawa State over reported attacks. Building women's capacity and tackling malaria and other diseases in member countries, including Nigeria, dominate discussions on day 2 of the Commonwealth meeting in London. And French President Emmanuel Macron warns against rising authoritarianism in the European Union. Now, channelstv.com has more information for you, and on youtube.com/channelsweb, you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news and updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app has an Eyewitness feature that you can use to share pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu, and then follow the instructions. Now let's take a look at some of those pictures that were sent into our portal. We have this one from CHOGM interchange on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, showing people sitting dangerously on a van. Our Eyewitness reporter is worried about the danger this act could cause and is asking men of the Federal Road Safety Corps to do something about it. Here's another picture from Edo State showing this road linking the community to Benin City, the Edo State capital. According to him, residents and motorists are unhappy about the state of the road, which he describes as a death trap. He wants the government to do something about it. And let's end with a picture from Alapere area of Lagos showing a canal which appears to be cleared. Our Eyewitness reporter claims the cleanup happened after it was reported several times by Channels Television. So thanks for your pictures and keep them coming. As members of the Commonwealth nations continue their biannual meeting in London, member countries are already taking decisive actions on critical development issues affecting them. Now, the issue of malaria and economic challenges in African countries like Nigeria form part of the discussion at the Business Forum, which is one of the sessions attended by delegates. Our correspondent Ibrahim Adra reports.
On day 2 of the Commonwealth meeting, working sessions continue as the Commonwealth community look to find solutions to many of the problems afflicting member states. One such problem is the scourge of malaria, which have health and economic implications for countries like Nigeria.
Worldwide, the disease kills 445,000 people every year, many in the Commonwealth and most of them children. Malaria's impact on the economies of countries it affects. The human cost is incalculable.
The British Prime Minister expresses disapproval about legislation that forbids same-sex marriage.
And last but not least,
issues of women is receiving a great deal of attention at the meeting. The thinking is to build the women capacity in businesses. Participants at the Women Forum shared in the Nigerian experience.
We identified women doing export and we'll try and support them. And then the she trades thing came following the meeting in Sao Paulo, and we immediately lashed onto it because we knew that that was the way we could open the eyes of our women to the possibilities that exist outside Nigeria.
In days to come, the 53-member association will be looking to come up with declarations on security, which is one of its themes, especially cybersecurity. They would also be looking to take on headlong the issues of modern slavery, amongst others. From London, Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.
Now, delegates from the 53 member countries that make up the Commonwealth have been meeting, as you've seen, and the theme for this year's meeting is towards a common future, focuses on ensuring that the Commonwealth is responsive to global challenges and delivers a more prosperous, secure, sustainable and fair future for all its citizens, particularly its young people. Britain, which founded the international body, intends to pull more support from them this year as it plans to pull out of the European Union by 2019. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Amarachi Ubani reports.
CHOGM meetings in the past have attempted to orchestrate common policies on certain contentious issues and current events, with a special focus on issues affecting member nations. Kicking off meetings before the heads of government meeting on Monday, UK Prime Minister Theresa May extolled the benefits of free trade among Commonwealth countries, seeking new sources of commerce as Britain looks to finalising its exit from the European Union. In preparation for the divorce, she's looking to win the support of the Commonwealth for future trade deals, while bolstering her argument that the future is bright after Brexit.
Freer, easier trade means stronger economies, more jobs, more choice and lower prices. And that's true here in the UK, across the Commonwealth and around the world.
She also urged the use of common standards across the network of 53 countries, warning that global growth was fragile and that protectionism posed a clear threat to the world economy. Then she said the UK will commit £212 million to try to make sure children living in developing Commonwealth countries receive 12 years of quality education, and announced new programs to free up trade, improve the skills of young people and boost women's participation in business.
We will also be funding a trade facilitation programme, supporting and providing technical assistance to selected Commonwealth countries in implementing the World Trade Organisation's Trade Facilitation Agreement. Full implementation of the WTO agreement is estimated to reduce trade costs by up to 16% for less developed countries. It will cut the average time needed to import goods by 47%, and the time taken to export by as much as 91%. A huge boost for businesses across the Commonwealth.
Commonwealth Secretary-General Patricia Scotland says the Commonwealth will help its members recover from shock and adjust to the UK's decision to withdraw from the European Union, stating that while the UK's decision had caused a great amount of worry and concern, it may be the most phenomenal opportunity to strengthen and widen trading relations. Commonwealth experts had warned last month that key industries in some Commonwealth nations could take massive hits if appropriate steps are not taken following the UK's departure from the EU. Figures from the UK's Office for National Statistics shows that its trade with other Commonwealth countries currently accounts for about 9% of total exports, compared to 44% with the EU. Amarachi Ubani, Channels Television News.
Now let's get some perspective on all this. I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the former Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshi. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10.
Thanks for having me here.
Well, a lot of strong rhetoric from the UK Prime Minister about, renewed and stronger trade among Commonwealth countries. Do you see this as their plan B, seeing as Brexit is still being negotiated, their strength and influence?
I don't really think so. One, because I don't know exactly what Britain trades on today and what a number of Commonwealth countries do trade on as well. If you take our own case, I'm not too sure the British buys our oil still. And what else do we have to trade? The only way we can benefit and the rest of the Commonwealth can actually benefit from this is if we have something that we can trade, not just with the British people, but with the world in general. So, for me, I think that's the problem when I hear this whole issue of, trade and investment. Investment, yes, but trade, we really have to develop something to trade.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions I asked the presidential spokesperson yesterday about what it is we bring to the table when we come, beyond the talk and the rhetoric. Do we go with the, you've been in this business. Is there an agenda for us, or do we just discuss what we hope to gain or hope to do?
Well, in a conference like this, a Commonwealth conference, the host country sets an agenda. And this year, The British government, I think, has about 4 major items: trade and investment, security, sustainability, and fairness, which talks about democracy, good governance, and the rest of it. And I think within that context, we can actually, inject our own desire. For me, I just think that with the British and the rest of the Commonwealth, we need to focus on one of the things that the British Prime Minister talked about, development of skills and competencies, human capital development. I think today that's the best we can get from some members of the Commonwealth countries, like the British, Australia, Canada, and the rest of them. I think that's where we need to focus. In other words, this is what we need to do to put in our own agenda, the one that concerns us most.
And looking at the economies that make up the Commonwealth, I mean, the larger ones now, for instance, some people are already speculating, is this a race against China, seeing as much of the foreign direct investment you have is, given by them, funded by them, somehow? Is this what this is all about?
Look, today, I don't think the British can match Chinese investment in this continent. I don't think so. Look, I take the position that the British have long abandoned us, but there are still areas in which I believe we can cooperate. And I go back to this human capital development, because about 2 years ago, if I recall, the Indian Prime Minister visited Britain and they signed an agreement. And I think one of them was for Britain to train about 1 million over a period of time, Indians in cyber security, ICT, and the rest of them. Now, I think in that field, that is the way we can, build a relationship with the British to help us train some of the skills and the competencies that we do not have in this part of the country today, in almost areas of human endeavor you can think of, whether in education, whether even helping us to rebuild. For example, the Nigerian police force, as far as I'm concerned, that still lacks a lot of competencies. Train hospital workers, doctors, and the rest of them to acquire today's kind of skills and competencies. So I think that we can infuse our own agenda into the discussion to say to them, this is what we need, because these are the things we need for the 21st century, not really so much trade and,
But again, looking at it, the agenda is to, finding out, is to leverage on the Commonwealth rather than what influence they will have. Because even if you listen to Patricia Scotland, she was talking about Brexit having an impact on the sort of influence that they will be able to have. Finding out what sort of impact and...
Look, somebody, I can't remember which newspaper, which, has described that as a delusion, that it's not going to happen. Our relationship or trade with the, Commonwealth, with the British is less than 7%. But it's expected to grow in the next, by 2020 to about 17% and so on. But again, I make the point that it will depend on what you have to trade. So if you do not have anything to trade and you look at other areas in which you can build up your relationship, then you just decide that this is going to be your agenda and this is going to be the focal point in your relationship with the Commonwealth. And I go back and I say that the Commonwealth in the past, Canada, Australia, the British, they did a lot in terms of education in this country. And look, if you know where we are in that sector, we probably need to forge a new relationship to help us build the competencies and the skills we need for the 21st century.
All right. Former Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, thank you a lot for joining us on the News at 10, Ambassador Joe Keshi.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And when the News at 10 returns, International Monetary Fund warns countries against impact of protectionism on global economy, forecasts 3.4% growth for sub-Saharan Africa. That's on Business News. Please join us again.